Hi folks, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video game review, a review of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Yes, I did promise I will review Assassin's Creed Odyssey at some point, right? Didn't I? So here we are. I really love Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's among my favorite Assassin's Creed games, and honestly, I'm debating now if it's not even the favorite now upon replaying it again, because I love it so much. Plenty of people complain that this game is more of The Witcher 3 than a true classic Assassin's Creed game, and I wouldn't necessarily argue with that, but who cares? All we need is a great game to play, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey is very much it. It doesn't contradict anything within the Assassin's Creed lore, so I don't see a reason why can't you just consider it basically like a spin-off open-world RPG set in ancient Greece. I mean, there still are plenty of classic Assassin's Creed elements in this game, likely to remind you that you're technically playing an Assassin's Creed game. And also, again, I did promise to review this game, and I thought that since I reviewed The Witcher 3 only not long ago, only a few weeks ago, I decided that why not now? It's a perfect time to also review Assassin's Creed Odyssey, among my favorite games in the franchise, even if, again, I consider it more like a spin-off RPG set in ancient Greece. At the very beginning, you have a choice to pick either one of the two characters to play, either Alexios or Cassandra. I personally always pick Cassandra. I know Alexios is a popular choice and vast majority of players pick Alexios, and if you prefer Alexios, I completely understand and that's fine. It's not my place to tell you who to pick, but I always prefer Cassandra. She's hot, plus she just feels so much more natural, and she's a canon character anyway, plus Alexios also makes such an amazing Demus, but we'll get to that later actually. So, if you prefer Alexios, then again, that's totally fine with me. But for me, Cassandra all the way. What's interesting is that there is a dialogue tree and you can make your character either an amazing person or a pretty selfish Misios who only cares for drachmae, a Greek money. And interestingly enough, former choices seem more natural for Cassandra, whereas the selfish ones seem more natural for Alexios. I mean, if you pick to play as him, which I don't, because again, Cassandra all the way. One of the issues people seem to have with Assassin's Creed Odyssey is that it doesn't fully feel like an Assassin's Creed game, but more like an ancient Greece RPG. And that is true. I won't argue with that. It is actually very true, but personally, I don't mind it one bit. I mean, it does have some Assassin's Creed elements that we'll get to later, but what's important is that Assassin's Creed Odyssey in no way contradicts anything that lore has established, and it still very much retains some classic Assassin's Creed elements and themes, even if, objectively, there is a lot more Witcher 3 here than there is Assassin's Creed. But core themes of the series of Order versus Chaos and Secret Society wanting to control humanity are still very much here. This time, that Secret Society is a cult of Cosmos. We'll talk of it later. Ultimately, I consider Assassin's Creed Odyssey as an ancient Greece RPG spin-off. It's a game that's disconnected from the rest in a way that it takes place way before Assassins and Templars were even created, and can easily be considered a standalone story unrelated to the rest of the franchise, but it's still recognizably the same universe and ultimately, most importantly, doesn't contradict anything that came before. So let's just say Assassin's Creed Origins is an ancient Greece spin-off RPG, although some seeds to how Assassin versus Templar conflict started are very much here, especially in the Legacy of the First Blade DLC. The game looks so beautiful. This is the best looking Assassin's Creed game together with Assassin's Creed Unity. The open world, I say, is fantastic and immersive. I wouldn't say it's quite as amazing as the open world of The Witcher 3, but again, The Witcher 3 has, in my opinion, the best and most amazing open world in video game existence. Odyssey still has fantastic open world and a much better one from the open world of its successor Assassin's Creed Valhalla. The attention to detail here is so stunning, and just the ancient Greek landscapes are so gorgeous. I love how beautiful ancient Greece is recreated down to nature, Mediterranean Sea, Greek islands, ancient Greek architecture and statues, and ancient Greek cities like Athens with famous Greek sites. I love the exploration in this game, and in similar fashion to The Witcher 3, the exploration is so much fun and just fun to roam around of ancient Greece, hunt some wild animals, run around through some amazing ancient Greek nature from forests, Mediterranean beaches and lagoons, and explore the famous sites that either still exist or did in antiquity. Walking around through various ancient Greek cities and see how ancient Greeks lived and look at some stunning ancient Greek architecture and sailing on the beautiful blue waters of the Mediterranean Sea is simply fantastic. I just love how ancient Greece is so beautifully recreated and every area is so unique, and as you play the game it feels like you're exploring ancient Greece in its full glory and what it was really like. It's one of those games where you just want to explore every single area. Some islands actually have pretty little to do with the main story, but it just doesn't change the fact that you still very much want to explore them. I do like the combat in this game, for the most part actually. Like, the combat certainly feels far more surreal and video gamey from other Assassin's Creed games, and for the most part I don't mind it, but there is one thing here I do in fact have issues, and I don't like how after you kill an enemy, enemies do tend to fly in the air, and I'm not necessarily expecting a realistic combat of the classic Assassin's Creed games, but I do think enemies basically flying is kinda too much, in my opinion. I mean, I do like learning different abilities in combat though, such as kicking your enemies for example, or taking away their shields. Plus, I also do love how combat requires some timing and planning, which is a skill that makes it pretty compelling. And assassinations are still here, and you can walk up to enemies and assassinate them with one hit. I mean, also depends on the level you are in and they are in. If the enemies are much higher level from Cassandra, then assassination will only take a chunk of their life, but it won't kill them. And there is also a new mechanic where you can just overpower enemies that are weaker than you and stun them, after which you can recruit them onto your ship, the Adrestia. I loved it actually. It actually is quite a lot of fun to just be standing random enemies and then just recruit them as part of your crew.
I have a ship. Join my crew and you'll taste freedom.
As I keep saying, the game is a lot more The Witcher 3 in ancient Greece, as opposed to a true classic Assassin's Creed game, but besides the aforementioned assassinations, there are other elements clearly taken from older Assassin's Creed games, likely to remind you that this is technically still an Assassin's Creed game, at least on paper. Again, besides the assassinations, there's also synchronizing viewpoints here as well, and it is pretty recommended because the map is so huge that there are lots of fast travel will be required in this game, as is parkour and climbing high up. However, it feels like a lot of those elements are for the sake of reminding the player that they are technically playing an Assassin's Creed game, even if this is more of a spin-off RPG taking place before Assassin-Templar conflict ever started. Another part of the gameplay that I really love, and I guess this is the one thing that I think this game does better from The Witcher 3, and that's swimming underwater as well as naval ship combat. I just love to swim underwater of the beautiful waters of the Mediterranean Sea and admire the beautiful blue sea and various sea creatures and fighting some sharks underwater. This is so much fun. And speaking of sharks, I love hunting some wild animals in this game in general, and the variety of them is so impressive. In addition to sharks in the water, there are wolves and wild boars as well as bears and lions occasionally, and not to even mention an excellent side quest of hunting down legendary animals, but we'll get to that later. And I love the aforementioned ship combat. It actually might even be better than it was in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, but because the game takes place in ancient Greece, instead of cannons, you have archers on your ship shooting at the enemy ships. I do really love the story of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. In a way that it ties to the greater Assassin's Creed lore, well, that I think might actually be the biggest issue that people have with this game, but I think that's kinda intentional. The game takes place before both Assassin Order and Templar Order were both created, and as I already said a couple of times, I view the game more as a spin-off RPG in ancient Greece that does objectively have a lot more in common with The Witcher 3 instead of classic Assassin's Creed, but I don't find it a bad thing at all. I just want a great game to play and I find Assassin's Creed Odyssey as very much it. The story still, even if it doesn't directly reference and talk of the Assassin-Templar conflict, as outside of the modern day of course, which does sometimes kinda feel out of place in this game, but the game still very much discusses classic themes of freedom versus authoritarianism, as well as a secret society trying to control humanity from behind the scenes. The main villains, the Cult of Cosmos, are basically proto-Templars, and outside of those universal themes, the story is first and foremost basically a Greek tragedy. I mean, at least if you get the right ending, in my opinion, because the main character is Cassandra, or Alexios, likely for you. Most players chose Alexios, and I bet likely you did as well, and he's a much more common choice, but again, for me it's Cassandra, so we will stick with Cassandra. She's canonical anyway, and I just love Cassandra. She's a great character, and the voice actress for her is just phenomenal. And choices here do very much matter, kinda like in The Witcher 3. I would say it's as well, I wouldn't maybe say it's quite as well done as in The Witcher 3, but still pretty good, and whatever choices you make will in fact have an effect on the ending, like the story of Cassandra and her baby brother Alexios, whom are both descended of King Leonidas. The very beginning of the game is even playing as King Leonidas in the Battle of Thermopylae against the Persians, and you get 300 vibes.
This is Sparta!
And the oracle told that Alexios has to die, so Cassandra tried to save Alexios and got exiled from Sparta. The story is as Cassandra being a Mythios, which is a mercenary in ancient Greece who looks for her family only to discover that her brother Alexios has been kidnapped as a baby by the Cult of Cosmos and is now more of a machine than a human, and is named Deimos. And that's actually partially why I choose Cassandra, because Alexios is such a perfect Deimos, like, you truly fear to even be close in his presence. This feeling that Cassandra just doesn't evoke as Deimos. Depending on the choices, you can actually redeem Deimos and turn him back into Alexios, but honestly, I don't think this quite fits with the story of a Greek tragedy that this game is meant to be. I did redeem Alexios a couple of times on both my first playthrough and couple of subsequent others, but honestly, as happy and satisfying as it is, I just think that him being beyond redemption just makes much more sense. Again, the story is a Greek tragedy, and the creators seem to think so as well, since the ending of both Deimos and the mother of the two siblings, Myrine, dying is the canon one. And yes, I totally agree, this is by far the best ending. I mean, not the happiest, but in the ending that certainly makes most sense and fits best with the story. Plus, DLC, Legacy of the First Blade, just doesn't fit at all if you get a happy ending, and we'll get to that soon, actually. And also, I love the story also because it does feel very relevant to the modern day as well. Like Cult of Cosmos, in addition to basically being proto-Templars in the Assassin's Creed universe, they could also be seen basically as the elites who control the Greek world from behind the scenes, in very similar fashion to the modern day, how elites trying to control humanity through mainstream media and politics, and how people are so politically divided.
To kill me.
The world is so chaotic now.
The cult made it that way.
We're living in divided times.
Sparta against Athens. Old against new.
These days, what's interesting is that the way that Cult of Kosmos controls the Greek world is how they would likely very much do it in these days, through the Oracle and making her tell people prophecies that very much furthers their agenda. Like the elite's best weapon in the modern day is the mainstream media and the politicians, and in ancient Greece, logically, it would be the Oracle, and again, politicians as well. The game brims with so many fantastic characters, like for example, there is this little girl Phoebe and her relationship with Cassandra is so amazing and so well written, and they have such a great chemistry. And later there is also a very sad emotional moment involving Phoebe that I will not spoil in this review, and there are also plenty of ancient historical characters in classic Assassin's Creed fashion, such as Socrates, Alcibiades or Hippocrates. And the dialogue is very well written, and interacting with characters and choosing what you wanna say in the dialogue tree is great. Like, there is a moment when you meet Socrates and engage in a pretty interesting philosophical conversation with him. It's almost as going back in time to ancient Greece and meeting with him for real, actually. And like in The Witcher 3, no conversation or cutscene feels boring in this game. Just watching Cassandra interact with all those characters and having all those interesting, fascinating conversations with them and learning so much more about this world, all of that is so fascinating and engaging. I've seen criticism from the game that Cassandra isn't a real character, more like whatever you make her to be through the dialogue tree, but I couldn't disagree more. Yes, some of the choices that you can pick in the dialogue tree are very different, and either you can make Cassandra a very compassionate, heroic protagonist, or you can make her a very selfish Mesios who only works for Drachme, but at the same time, the selfish choices that she works only for Drachme actually feel so out of character. I mean, I guess if you pick to play as Alexios, then the selfish choices do very much feel much more in character, but with Cassandra, and again, that's who I always play as, then the selfish choices feel very out of character. Generally, heroic choices feel much more in line for the character of Cassandra. And plus, the members of the Cult of Kosmos are really evil. These are some of the most evil, twisted and sick individuals in video games, very comparable to the villains in The Witcher 3. Like there is Priestess Crisis, who mass tortures innocent babies to turn them into machines of the cult, or an evil lord Podarkes the Cruel, who oppresses the island and of Mykonos, and or a member of the Ancients, on the other hand, Pactias the Huntsman, who in the Legacy of the First Blade DLC. Yep, the villains in Assassin's Creed Odyssey are really evil and twisted, and killing them always feels so satisfying. Another really awesome character is a Spartan General Brasidas. He's so badass and so honorable, like a true Spartan general should be, and his friendship with Cassandra is so amazing, and their chemistry is great, and it's actually partially why I prefer Odyssey over Assassin's Creed Origins so much. Origins had fantastic protagonists in the form of Bayek and his wife Aya, but the supporting cast was so forgettable and lackluster, whereas the supporting cast of Odyssey is so incredible, with an awesome protagonist on top. Since Cassandra, actually, together with Ezio Auditore, might actually be my favorite Assassin's Creed protagonist. DLC Legacy of the First Blade is great, and I totally group it among those DLCs that I very much consider an essential part of the game, even though timeline of it is kinda vague, and that's what we are gonna talk about soon. Like Fate of Atlantis DLC, I have to say, I'm not a huge fan of it actually. It does go overboard with the supernatural elements, and yeah, I know, it's first civilization stuff, but I just don't like it being so explicit. Like the supernatural Greek mythology elements were used in very small doses in the base game, and I think that in a game like that, that's the best way to do it. After all, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it's not a Greek mythology RPG, it's a ancient Greece RPG, but I love Legacy of the First Blade, and I think, as I said, it's very much an essential part of the game. Like in the Legacy of the First Blade, Cassandra meets Natakis and Darius, who are both Persian, and then Natakis becomes Cassandra's husband. And also in this DLC, that's where we actually see the first seeds of Assassin Brotherhood. So basically like planting seeds for later games and later lore. And also Cassandra and Natakis have a son. Love making my Cassandra a mother. Motherhood is just perfect for Cassandra. Some didn't like it, but that's their problem, not mine. Cassandra is a fantastic protagonist and love the idea of making her a mother, and also how in true motherhood fashion, she chooses her son's safety over happiness. It's also revealed that later though, Cassandra's son is an ancestor of Aya from Assassin's Creed Origins, and I love that cool detail. Plus, it makes Cassandra the ancestor of one of the two original assassins. So yes, Legacy of the First Blade is not only an essential part of the story, but it's also the part that connects the game most to the rest of the series. But that also actually brings me into my big issue with the game. And again, I really love the game. And upon that playthrough, I think I love it even more. Like, this is one of those games that on each playthrough, I just love it even more. So yes, I really love the game, but just because you love something doesn't mean you should just turn a blind eye and pretend like it's perfect and everything is perfect. Like, if you love something, sometimes you just do gotta objectively point out its flaws, and this is what we're about to do now with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because the issue that I have with this game is that it's pretty clear that the game is very limited with the choices you make. I mean, at least in terms of canon, like there are 9 different endings depending on the choices, but while in The Witcher 3, like, there was no definite canon ending, it was pretty much your freedom of which ending was canon, and there was very much validity to all endings being canon. In Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it's pretty clear that the writers only had several of the particular endings in mind and clearly wrote Legacy of the First Blade DLC with only the endings in which Alexios and Myrrine are both dead. Demas kills Myrrine and then Cassandra kills Demas, because, as I've already been talking about the DLC, Cassandra becomes a mother, but the reaction of Myrrine and Alexios completely isn't there, even if, in fact, they don't appear at all actually. I remember how in my playthrough I managed to actually redeem Demas and turn him back into Alexios, but clearly that's not supposed to be the canonical choice, and again, I don't think it fits well with the said narrative anyway, but like, if Alexios and Myrrine are alive and well and basically chilling as lieutenants on the Adrestia now, obviously they should celebrate Cassandra becoming a mother and help her with raising a son, right? Like, why would Cassandra just give her son to his grandfather on his father's side, Darius? Like, why not give him to Myrrine, her mother? Like, because Darius, the father of Natakis, is very much present throughout raising a son through and through. So yes, it's pretty clear that the writers clearly intended the story of the DLC to only consider the ending in which both Myrrine and Alexios are dead. I mean, I do wish that the writers actually had an ending where Myrrine and Alexios live, also affect the DLC, but oh well. But in general, actually, it's actually not clear when does Legacy fit into the overall timeline of the story. Like, my estimation is that it takes place after the family storyline, but decidedly before Cassandra discovering who the leader of the Cult of Cosmos is. I mean, Cult of Cosmos is very much present in the DLC and even helped the main villains of the DLC, the Order of the Ancients. So it must take place before the Cult of Cosmos ending, but after the family ending. And I mean, the ending in which both Myrrine and Alexios are dead. I mean, and it also makes sense story-wise as well, like Cassandra, after losing her native family, like her mom and little brother, it makes sense that she would want to start a new life over with husband and child and kind of move on from her terrible past. I mean, granted, if all your family lives, you still get the DLC, but that goes to my point about the game clearly not being finished in some parts and writers giving you choices in places where there either shouldn't be any choices or they should actually have an effect on the DLC. Like in contrast with The Witcher 3, where endings do very much affect outcome of the DLCs, I actually saw online an alternate theory online that Legacy takes place midway through the main story, and after losing her husband and sending her son away for his own safety, Cassandra then became more eager than ever to now find her mother and redeem her brother, which in turn would actually justify the happiest ending in which she succeeds. Though you actually can do the DLC until you find Myrene and reunite with her, and Assassin's Creed Wiki actually seems to think events happened after finding Myrene but before the ending. But still, in my personal canon and interpretation, first episode of Legacy takes place right after Cassandra and Myrene free the island of Peros and separate, while the latter two take place after the family story is completed, but again decidedly before all cultists are dead, like right before victory in Athens, I say actually, like right before the We Remember quest, I say. Still, it's not clear timeline-wise when does Legacy of the First Blade take place, but assuming it takes place after which assuming it takes place after the family ending, which it does in my headcanon, then only the bad ending with Alexios and Myrene dead was meant for it. Make that of what you will. I choose to consider the bad ending canon, and Legacy for me takes place after the family storyline, but before the party in Athens and before the Cult of Cosmos completion. Again, make of that what you will.
Cassandra! A storm is coming.
I really love the side quests in this game as well. In fact, and that's another big thing that Assassin's Creed Odyssey has in common with The Witcher 3, because I actually say that only next to The Witcher 3, I actually think Assassin's Creed Odyssey has the best and most awesome side quests in any video game actually. While The Witcher 3 does side quests best, I actually think Assassin's Creed Odyssey does probably them only second best. Like, the side quests here feel like essential parts of the game, and the game just doesn't feel complete without them, and some hardly even feel like side quests, but essential to the grander story of the game, since a lot of side quests actually involve collecting clues and killing a lot of members of the Cult of Cosmos, and they might not have much to do with the family story, but with the grander story that the game is telling, they're completely essential. Like, one of the side quests involves Cassandra on an island helping the rebellion to free it from Podarkes the Cruel, who happens to be one of the members of the Cult of Cosmos, and it's basically a story of its own actually, a story within the story, and the leader of the rebellion, Kira, is an amazing and likable character in her own right, and I really love the friendship between her and Cassandra, and their chemistry is so great. And there's also a very interesting and cool twist involving her and Podarkes, and other side quests on the other hand have a lot less impact on the story, but that still doesn't change the fact that they are really amazing side quests, and very much it's a lot of fun to be doing them. Like, I mean, there are several boring side quests as well, but the amazing ones, I mean, are really amazing. One side quest I really like is telling a Greek myth of Perseus to a bunch of kids, and you can either tell them a real myth or the Hollywood Clash of the Titans version, which is pretty cool, especially for someone who feels passionate about Greek mythology, like me. So as you can imagine, yes, I always tell the real myth. Like, one of my favorite side quests is a long side quest called The Daughters of Artemis, and it includes hunting down the legendary animals from Greek mythology. And those are creatures that generally, in most adaptations of Greek mythology, you won't actually find, but they fit so well here, and that includes the Nemean lion, the Cretan bull, whom Cassandra even refers to as the feather of Minotaur, which the original Cretan bull was in fact in Greek mythology.
Look at that. Father of the Minotaur.
And there is also the Hind of Kyrenia, Erymanthian boar, yep, awesome side quests and so much fun. And I also love how much you don't just do it right away, because each of those legendary animals tends to be on a very high level, which means you gotta do a lot of progress to actually kill them. And plus, they also so spread around all over Greece, actually. I love it. Love it! And I also just gotta add that aforementioned Nemean lion was the first label of Heracles, but I never seen him in any Greek mythology game or movie for that matter. like in contrast to his sister, the Lurian Hydra, whom in turn was Heracles' second task. The Hydra is practically one of the most iconic Greek mythology monsters, and you can find her basically everywhere. But the same cannot be said for her brother, the Nemean lion, but he's here and finding him is so much fun. And as for the Cretan bull and all the other, and same thing for the Cretan bull and all the other of those legendary animals. And speaking of Cretan bull, he happens to be on the island of Crete, which is one of my favorite areas in the whole game, with plenty of amazing side quests and really beautiful scenery. I love how they made an area kinda touristy in some ways, with plenty of citizens welcoming Cassandra and talking a lot about the legendary Minotaur, such as one boy touring Cassandra around and scamming her out of drachmae, or a man creating a fictional challenge to face a Minotaur, and in reality, it's just a human in disguise, and an interesting twist is involved as well in that. But what's interesting is that the real Minotaur does turn out to be very real in this game, and Cassandra does end up fighting him, but it's done in a way that makes sense, and it's also very much related to the first civilization and the greater Assassin's Creed lore, and in a way that people of Crete have no way of knowing, with it being very deep underground. And there are several other Greek mythology classic monsters, with also solving the riddle of the Sphinx, as well as fighting the Gorgon. I already said I don't mind it. I actually find it pretty amazing though, but again, I already said that I don't really like Fate of Atlantis DLC though that much. That's where I feel they went too overboard with supernatural Greek mythology elements. If some like it, I completely respect that, but I feel in the base game those supernatural Greek mythology elements are used in very small doses and really enrich the game, kinda like a spice, but in the DLC it just feels like playing a Greek mythology game instead of an ancient Greece game, which this game actually is. Also, I really love looking for all the members of the Cult of Cosmos. It is really fun to be discovering all the clues as you're playing through the game's story and do all the quests, both main and side, and as you're getting much further and discovering more clues to discover a new member of the Cult of Cosmos and read more about him or her. And slaughtering each member of the Cult of Cosmos feels so satisfying, especially that it almost feels like slaughtering members of the secret society that secretly want to control humanity. Basically, Proto-Templars, and it feels disturbingly real too, how elites try to control humanity, with mainstream media or politicians promising to work for the people, but in reality only for themselves. And what's more is that those members of the Cult of Cosmos already said that these are some of the most despicable villains in gaming, so that makes slaughtering them all the more satisfying.
You fucking snake! I will not stop until every last cultist has met my spear. You will be erased from history. I will erase you. This is for my mother and every family you destroyed.
The game also has a really fantastic music, perfectly fitting with the atmosphere of ancient Greece. And the final thing I just gotta talk about is the replayability factor, which I think is the factor that a lot of gamers don't talk about, even though I think it's actually a very, very important factor that, again, seems very much missing nowadays when people talk about. Because this is actually possibly the most important factor to consider in modern video games. Because for me personally, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is very replayable, and why I preferred it from Red Dead Redemption 2. And this is the question I think more gamers should really be asking themselves about each modern game that they love and play. Question should be, is it fun? Is it replayable? is it as addicting each time you play the game? And if the answer is yes, then it's possibly a key factor to the game's quality, because Red Dead Redemption 2 had a fantastic story and the open world was even more interactive and way more detailed, but in my opinion, Red Dead Redemption 2 is at its best when you stop playing it as a game, and it's really at its best when you play it for the first time. And I still love Red Dead Redemption 2, but on subsequent playthroughs, it's just never the same again, in contrast to The Witcher 3 and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, both of which are very addicting each time I replay either one. So, yes, when it comes to replayability, which I think is something that a lot more gamers and video game critics should really be talking about, then Assassin's Creed Odyssey excels in that. I really love Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and if Skyrim is a retired king and grandfather of open world RPGs, and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is a father and still very much a presiding king, then I guess you could say Assassin's Creed Odyssey is sort of a princess. Like, not necessarily an heir to the throne, so I guess, yeah, a princess of the royal family. We've yet to have a prince and an heir, and who knows, maybe The Witcher 4 will be it. Who knows, but so far, again, I really love Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and even if again it doesn't have much in common with classic Assassin's Creed games, I mean the elements are very much there, as this review has proved. It still doesn't change the fact that it's a really amazing game with a really amazing story and fantastic immersive open world in ancient Greece, and it's just a great game and one of my favorite games in the Assassin's Creed franchise. That on this replay, I think I love it even more. And most importantly, you just have so much fun playing it, which is one of the most important things in video games that lots of people sadly overlook. But again, I love Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and if you haven't played it and you love RPGs, then I very much suggest you get Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for checking out this video game review. Press the like button, please subscribe to this channel, and I will talk to you soon in another video. Talk to you then, bye!